Hello everybody, and welcome to my messy table that I sew on. Now I got my little sewing book over here, this really cute little book. It's by Simplicity, and it's cool. It has a couple different pictures in there that are really awesome. But anyway, it's, like I said, it's a really nifty book to have. But I want to talk to you about interfacings so we can continue our discussion. Now, normally in the fronts of shirts, you'll have a facing that's going along this placket area. And it will have interfacing here, and a lot of times it'll have interfacing right on the actual front side of this fabric too, which is here. And that's to give it extra stability if you're doing any type of embroidery type stitching or satin stitching, which is like a buttonhole. That's a type of embroidery slash satin stitch. If you're doing any stitching that's really close like that and repeated in one area, you need some interfacing there in order to make it more stable. And whether your interfacing is just extra layers of fabric, or whether it's a fusible, a non-fusible, or a I guess that's it. Fusible, non-fusible, or if it's just another piece of fabric, you need some kind of backing there in order to make the stitches more stable, especially if you're doing like an embroidery, like a logo. You always see this in your shirts. If you look behind the logo on the wrong side of the fabric where it's sewn, you'll see it had interfacing there at once upon a time. This is my little shirt from work, and it has, you can see where it's had interfacing, and it's sewn, of course, over the interfacing. But if you look right at the edge, you can see where the interfacing was. And sometimes they use like a tearaway interfacing when they're doing embroidery. Okay, so now let me talk to you about the interfacings that are in this. Now, this is actually a really crispy muslin, and this, it doesn't have any extra layers of fabric or anything. I just sewed this just muslin. And it's very crispy. It's a really nice muslin. This would be good for interfacing, and actually at times I do use muslin for interfacing just to give the garment some extra body. The only trick with muslin, you have to be careful because it's not pre-shrunk in 90% of cases, so you need to go ahead and wash it in the washing machine and dry it. I wouldn't suggest doing like a heated dryer. If you could do like maybe a cool dryer setting, that would be awesome. Or what else? Or you can hang it to dry. That would be good because you don't want it to shrink too much. You don't want the fabric to draw up a whole lot. You just want to wash it to kind of stretch it out some, and then let it air dry and let it kind of shrink how it's gonna shrink. The heat will kind of force it to shrink, and it might kind of warp your fabric some. But anyway, so that's one thing. That's that collar. That doesn't have any interfacing in it, but it's very, very nice. Now, in my shirt from work, I absolutely despise this interfacing. This is what non-woven looks like once you've washed it sometimes. And I'm sure y'all have seen the same thing in some of your own personal garments that you buy from stores. It has this interfacing, and sometimes you'll be looking at the shirt and you'll see like this white fuzzy stuff hanging from underneath, and it's all falling out of the garment. That's the interfacing coming out. You know, and you would think you pay some money for it, you would get a nicer interfacing, but that price is they're gonna put that price into the price of the garment. So it's actually better if you just go ahead and take it, you know, like it comes, and just deal with it. And it's not like I'm just going to be wearing this shirt anywhere to where I just really need this fantastic interfacing. So they have that interfacing in there, and I'm sure they have the same interfacing in this collar too, because I can kind of feel that same texture when I rub the collar back and forth. I can still feel this same kind of texture. So that's that. Now, for in this shirt, which I just showed you a second ago, and I've showed it to you in another thing, this is also another nicer muslin. This one isn't as crispy as this one. This muslin is really crispy. This one is a softer muslin, and it seems like it has a slightly higher thread count. I use this would be nice, first of all, if you actually wanted to make a garment and wear it. This, I mean, it's nice. You can tell it just looks like a shirt. It doesn't so much look like muslin unless you know it's muslin. But anyway, it just looks like a cotton shirt. In the top part of it, and that's my little thing that I do so that I can put collar points in it. But anyway, in the collar and in the collar stand, it's just extra layers of fabric. That's all that's in there. There's no interfacing or anything, and it came out nice, even for this to be a muslin that's not as crispy as this one. This one I really didn't need interfacing in. It feels like it has something in it. But this one feels like it has something in it. It's a softer one, but all I did was just layer the fabric a couple times. And it's like you have your front collar and your back collar here. I just did extra. So instead of cutting out one front and one back, I did two fronts and two backs. And then I just sewed them together first to make sure they didn't move. And then I sewed the collar. So I sewed the layers together first. Then I actually made the collar. So that way I could actually, you know, it could be like one layer of fabric. Now, this is the fabric that I wanted to show you. This is a big, humongous bolt of interfacing, and I love it. This is woven interfacing that I have right here, and I'm going to try to get close so you can see. Okay, so this is the glue side, the fusible side of the interfacing, and hopefully you can see all these little beads on here. These are glue beads, and the way that I know that it's interfaced is by, once I don't see these little dots underneath anymore, I know that the glue has melted and that it is fusing to the fabric correctly. But yeah, it looks like a muslin, almost a very loosely. You can see through it. Looks like a very loosely woven muslin type fabric. But you see, I can't rip it. And if you can hear that, that just shows you that it's fabric. Now this has the same properties of fabric, of course, because it is fabric. So it has a bias, it has a straight grain. If I snip it here, I can tear it and it'll tear along the straight grain. Now I will say that tearing does work a little differently on this fabric, and I think it's because of the beads of glue on it. It makes the tearing not as regular as I would like it, and then also because it's so loosely woven, the tearing doesn't come out as perfect as I like it. But big old bolt of muslin. Now get this, you would think that this probably cost about $100 for this interfacing. I actually found this on sale, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I got this big old bolt for $10. And there was probably like over 100 yards on there when I first got it. I don't know how many are on here now, but it's still pretty big. So this is my hand, so you can see comparison of how wide this fabric is, and this is my couch, so you can see how tall it is. Come on, camera. Here we go. Okay. So that's so you can see how tall the fabric or the muslin is. So, and then that's the dress form in the background. It's almost as tall as the dress form. So I love that. I just happen to be at the right place at the right time, like I said. So that's why that's like that. Now I also want to show you how to fuse your